JDub is back at it here to give everyone another Walking Dead Season 9 episode reaction video. But before I continue with that, it's extremely important if you're not caught up to the point where I am in rewatching or watching The Walking Dead that you take the initiative and pay attention to the episode title, which of course I put in the description for you. If that's the case and you find out that you're not caught up, I suggest, and so does everybody else, that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. This will be The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode number 6. The title of this episode is called Who Are You Now? This will be my reaction, review, recap of the episode, and it's an episode I've seen a few times, just doing a reaction to it to have it on my channel, and also doing a reaction to it due to the fact that they announced that The Walking Dead Season 11 is going to be the final season of the main Walking Dead show. So I definitely want to get all the episodes of Walking Dead on this channel for that particular reason. So Michonne narrates over scenes of survivors continuing to rebuild their various communities and struggling to survive 6 years after Rick Grimes' apparent death. Now, Judith, who we saw older Judith in the last episode at the very last moments, leads Magna's group to Aaron, Eugene, Laura, and Rosita, who are hesitant about protecting them, but Judith insists. They travel to Alexandria just as Michonne returns from a scavenging run. Michonne sizes up them and knows that Judith did not follow the proper procedures for bringing in new survivors in, but agrees to let them stay overnight and to hear their case the following morning in front of their council, which now actually includes former high-ranking savior Laura, which is a very interesting twist, as a savior actually got in the good graces of the community, which is great. And there, the council asked them questions similar to what Rick would ask of potential allies. While the other council members seem accepting of their answers, Michonne, she sees that Magna has a prison tattoo and demands she explain herself. She cannot do so, and the council votes to have them evicted from the community after Yumiko's treated for her injuries. Now, Judith has actually developed a strong rapport with Negan, of all people. I mean, it's out of the comic books. You have, Carl and Negan develop a big bond while Negan's in the cell in the comic books. And then, okay, Carl dies. Okay, we think Henry's going to be the one that develops the bond with Negan. He's kind of filling Carl's role in some cases for some things that are going to happen in the future here. But no, they do a time skip. They age Judith to the age that Carl was when he met Negan, I believe, in the comic books. And Judith is the one that develops a bond. And he's like helping her with her homework. And he seems at peace. Like, it's been 6 years. Negan's been sitting in that cell for a long time. And they just seem to have a very strong bond. He talks very nice to her. Doesn't say anything, crazy, or doesn't, it's good. I like it. So that's great. And then she tells Negan that she's upset that Michonne is not trusting her, and then Michonne mulls over her decision as she tends to her and Rick's child, Rick Jr., RJ. So they have a kid now, apparently, which they did kind of get it on before Rick's final episode, but it's something that we didn't expect, I guess. And then as the others are about to evict the group, Michonne actually has a change of heart and says that they likely will be able to stay over at the hilltop and will escort them personally there, along with Sadiq and former savior DJ, who's, kind of like the bodyguard for Michonne now. So Laura and DJ have done pretty good for themselves, not being, full-fledged saviors anymore. So at the kingdom, Ezekiel recognizes the need to have a trained blacksmith to help with certain repairs and decides to have Henry travel to the hilltop to be apprenticed in the art by Earl at the hilltop. Now, Carol brings Henry along with a number of supplies she plans to bring to the hilltop too, en route. And they are attacked by the remains of the saviors, who, aside from those who joined the other communities like DJ and Laura, led by Carol's old enemy. I don't know if it's necessarily her enemy, but Jed is back, and former savior Lieutenant Regina. Now, Jed reveals that the sanctuary has fallen and the remaining saviors have become martyrs to survive. So what they do is they steal the supplies they have, and along with them, he asked for the ring that Ezekiel had gave to Carol, and promised that they will never see them again. Now, you may hate Jed because of this, and yeah, you probably should, but at least he told her, hey, you let me live, I'm going to do you a favor, I'm just going to take this, and you won't see me again, we're out of here. So, Jed isn't 100% bad. I mean, if you're comparing him to somebody like, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, I just said it recently, too, Jared, the guy that was a part of Gavin's group that always go to the kingdom, the long-haired savior. He's terrible. Jed, not so much so. Maybe a little vindictive, but he's a lot better than Jared. Anyway, back to the reaction of this episode. So they steal the supplies, and that night, after setting up camp, Carol sneaks out and to find the Savior's camp, douses the area in gasoline and sets them ablaze and kills Regina and Jed by lighting them on fire, essentially. And she recovers her ring. And then they continue the next day until they run into Daryl, who is taken up living on his own out in the woods, guessing that he's looking for Rick and trying to find evidence of Rick, his possessions, his clothes, his body, something that, closure for Rick Grimes. And then we have a scene that takes place, Alexandria, where Gabriel got a radio communications thing and he's trying to set it up. And Rosita comes in there. And all of a sudden, Rosita and Gabriel start getting it. Well, they start making out, which is crazy. This came out of nowhere. Like, Father Gabriel was kind of getting it on. Well, he didn't get it on, but he was kind of getting close to Ann/Jadis before this big time skip. And now all of a sudden he's with Rosita? What happens if they have another 10-year time skip? He's going to be with Maggie or Carol? Father G's come a long way. But anyway, Rosita and Eugene go to take some radio equipment to set up on a nearby water tower for Father Gabriel. And Eugene's a little upset that he's formed a bond with Rosita. He is trying to see if any other communications can be made, or any other communications can be made with other groups or communities. And they note that a large herd has passed, but believe it will not interfere with their goal. And as Eugene places the radio equipment, he spots the horde now aiming for them. He spooks their horses as he tries to climb down, and Rosita rushes to recover essential gear from their wagon. Now, Eugene is actually forced to jump the last bit of the tower and injures his leg pretty bad. And then after Rosita gets him a shovel as a makeshift crutch, the two escape, barely. The horde surprisingly stays on their tail, and only until they find a wet ditch and cover themselves up with mud does the horde seem to ignore their presence. And then they hear, as they're kind of laying there in terror, essentially, they hear faint whispers of, "Where are they?" And they must be close. Don't let them get away. And as the horde passes, much to their horror and terror and all that. So that's how the episode ends. It's the episode after Rick Grimes leaves The Walking Dead. It's good, but not... As far as the score, I mean, some things happened in this episode that I didn't like. Well, actually, the whole Rosita Gabriel thing, obviously I've started to like Father Gabriel as a character. Probably toward the end of season 6, he started becoming legit as a character. But him all of a sudden hooking up with Rosita doesn't work for me in this way. But I do like the stuff they did with Judith. They aged Judith perfectly. They found a great actress to play her. And she does a great job. And her dynamic with Negan is awesome. I really like that. Carol is vicious as shit by lighting Jed and Regina on fire. Don't fuck with Carol. So as far as the score of this episode, I'm going to give it an 8.4 out of 10. I enjoyed it. Of course, I miss Rick, but I did enjoy it. And we didn't even see Maggie. Apparently, Maggie's gone too. And they didn't really allude to that much. Maggie just kind of took off. And then my character of the episode, I wanted to give it to Judith. And I was very close to giving it to Judith. Could have gave it to Michonne. And I could have gave it to Magna even. Kind of. But I'm going to give it to Carol because Carol was back to her badassery in this episode. So you've heard what I've had to say, probably rambled on too long. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead and you like this episode from season 9, go ahead and smash that like button. If you know anybody that would be interested in this particular video, go ahead and share it to them. Don't forget to leave me a comment with your thoughts on the episode, anything you want to talk about, and of course, last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special as JDev will return.